leadership and potential, there are a lot of myths and a lot of fallacies. So let me just deal with some of those and do some kind of a reality check. So myth number one, a lot of times we have this debate and a lot of times people make this mistake. It has happened many a times. I have seen this happening at many places and you hear it from the business managers all the time. You know, XYZ is doing a perfect job. He has been an outstanding performer. He's a star. He has been delivering on everything that we have been wanting him or her to deliver. So he is ready for promotion, just promote him, you know. And then, you know, as HR, we argue this way and that way. But generally, you know, it doesn't happen. Result, the person gets promoted and within 6 months or 8 months, you get a request, hey, XYZ, you know, things don't seem to be working. Why don't you put him on a performance improvement plan? This has happened with some of you? I mean, in some of the organizations where you have worked? Yeah. High performer, extraordinary performer, delivering more than the targets, and within 6 to 8 months' time, this person is being talked about to be put on the performance improvement plan, PIP. It has happened, yes or no? Yes. How many of you agree with that? Just raise your hands. And I would raise my hands at least 3 times. Reason, because it has happened in 3 different organizations where I have worked, and in at least 2 of them, the decision had to be reversed within 1 year. And let me just share one example. You know, in one of the organizations where I worked, name is not important, but the essence is, one of the business development manager was a German, who was one of the real stars, while all other BD managers used to deliver something like 30%, 40%, maximum 50% on their targets. This gentleman used to deliver, and very consistently, quarter on quarter, 170% plus. 170% was the least that he performed in the preceding quarters. And then the discussion started, why don't we promote this guy? He has been an extraordinary performer. He has been delivering consistently much more than we have set up the targets for him. So he's the right choice. So the choice got made in terms of yes. In the second quarter, the request started coming. Something seems to be going wrong. Is he the right guy? And in the next cycle, and by the way, we did all the hand-holding, coaching, etc., you know, all the preparatory training program, putting him on the leadership development course, etc. All those things were done. In spite of that, the discussion started, is he the right choice? And in the third year, the person not only lost his position as a head of the department, head of the organization that he was leading, he also lost his position as a business development manager. And now look at the loss that organization went through. In the 2 years that he was leading the team, 3 kinds of losses. Number 1, losses in the sale. Number 2, loss of a extraordinary BD manager who was delivering extraordinary performance for many quarters. Number 3, and that was the bigger loss, his team experienced something like 70% attrition for next 2 years. So it was something like there is a pipeline, you have input, you have output, and it's continuously running, and therefore there is no stability. In terms of financials, I think organizationally we would have lost something like equivalent of 21 or 22% EBITDA for that particular business division. It was absolutely lose-lose situation, not even a win-lose situation. And in the third year, the person got fired. And by the way, when he was being recruited, there was a ref check that was referred to us. And the question was, what is his strength? Is he good enough as an individual contributor, or is he good as a leader? And our recommendation was that if you are looking for an individual contributor, he is one of the best. And he got hired as an individual contributor, and in the organization where he got hired, he's still doing an extraordinary role, delivering superlative performance quarter on quarter. He continues to be a single contributor, and he continues to deliver the same performance which he did before he was promoted in the organization. So the learning, do not assume just because somebody is delivering extraordinary performance that it is equivalent of a extraordinary potential also. You promote people for their potential, not for their performance, because performance is their past. You reward them. Reward them, give them handsome ESOPs, give them handsome variable pay or increment or whatever, or send them on vacation, paid vacation. Motivate them through those means, not by promoting them, because in terms of promotion, not only you are losing a great salesman or a great performer, you are also likely to cause a significant damage in terms of the organizational environment, and probably next 2 to 3 years' time, you are taking a big risk. Myth number 2, just because somebody is doing an extraordinary job in one skill, many a times we equate it that if he or she is excelling in skill A, he or she also is likely to excel in skill B or area B. The famous example, when Sachin Tendulkar was in his heydays, and he used to be one of the shining stars of the batting squad, the BCCI and the selectors made a decision of making him the captain of the team. And if you look into the history, those 3-4 years that he was the captain, we lost a great batsman, and we got a substandard choice in terms of leader of the team. Many a times, again the same question, we get carried away by here and now, by what you see. We don't really examine as to what it might mean when the situation changes, because when you are an owner of your own performance, the stakes are much lesser. When you become the owner of performance of a team, the stakes are much higher. The skill set is very different, situation is very different, you need a very different kind of a mindset. And if you were to make the right and sound decision, I think that real due diligence must happen, whether it's in terms of potential assessment, whether it's in terms of assessment center, whatever. I'm not getting into those nitty-gritties, but that due diligence is required. Next one. Quite often we also encounter this dilemma that leadership or the potential or the performance is all about leader and the competence. It's true, I agree. And then somebody says that, look, since it's all dependent upon leader and the leader is competent, so that's good enough. So why do you worry? The fact is that leadership does not operate in vacuum. Leadership is always contextual. In terms of context, you have culture, you have followers, you have technology, you have products, you have many other variables. Therefore, you have seen, I'm sure, and many of us have seen, leader A may be successful in context A, may not be successful in context B. And let me just take the example of Nandan Nilekani. All of us have heard about his stories, yeah? One of the most successful leader in the IT industry, one of the most successful entrepreneur in the country, and when he was made the in charge of Aadhaar, next 3 to 4 years, he was literally struggling. And I know some friends who work in the Government of India organization. At one point of time, he was perceived to be so much of an outsider and so much of a misfit in the culture that there was a discussion, shall we shelve this project altogether? Shall we change Nandan Nilekani and bring somebody else who actually understands our culture and the way the Government of India organization operates? Point is, these are all the variables which are very, very important. So the relationship between leader and the culture is of a very, very symbiotic nature. It doesn't operate in isolation. And many a times we forget these, many a times we take these areas for granted, and that's the biggest mistake we make. Another one, quite often you hear a lot of over-enthusiastic business managers tell you that, look, don't worry about the about culture, vulture, and all this stuff. Just hire the best people and they will take care of everything else, you know, and everything falls in place. So I have an example. In another organization where I worked, we recruited one of the best scientists, one of the best in the area of his operation. He was recruited from Canada, and at a very, very fat salary, really seen as one of the top 10 in the world. And when he was recruited, everybody was gung-ho, oh, we got a great guy and everything will be fine. But what happened is, the organization made a mistake of not getting the other elements aligned. And within 3 to 4 months' time, the noise started coming up. Is he really fit? Is he really doing a good job? Have we made the right choice? And when this matter came up in the human resource review meeting during the half-yearly review session, one of the decision point was, what do we do with this guy? You know, shall we change? Shall we continue? Or what do we do? So there was a unanimous choice made. Let us get another guy. Is a wrong choice. So once everybody was through, I said, okay, I have a question. So the eyebrows went up. I said, 4 months ago, when he was recruited, all of us seated around the table were so excited, were so gung-ho that he's the best brain in the world. So if he was the best brain in the world that time, and we are saying that he's a lousy brain now, are we saying that we were wrong then? And if we were wrong then, what is the guarantee that we are right now? So the discussion started. So what do we do? I said, we need to give him at least 6 months' time. And I need a commitment from his boss, who was the president, that XYZ, myself and this person, we all will agree on some kind of a transition plan. Cutting long story short, 3 things we agreed. President will stop interfering in the day-to-day affairs of the area of responsibility of this guy. This person will agree on 2-3 areas of actions, and others will do whatever is expected of them. Just specifics, and within 3 to 4 months' time, the situation was completely changed. Another myth, a lot of times we carry that, anything or everything can be taught. People can learn. Just put people into the job that you want them to do and teach them, they will learn. Many a times the mistake that we make is we fail to discern as to what is the real strength of the person is able to bring to the table. Next, quite often we also hear this, that leadership competencies are all standard, we have all seen, and they are fairly same or similar across the organizations, across the spectrum, and it's fairly easy. Point is, leadership competencies are not standard anymore. In fact, if you go into the details of how the demographics is changing, those competencies are changing, and the shape, the nature of the competencies that you need in the leaders today are way different compared to what were needed a few years ago. Now, let me just talk about some more facts. Based on the research that has been published by many, many research agencies, in the next 7 to 8 years, the demographics of the workplace will be so much different that the kids who are in the college and schools now, they will constitute something like 68% of the workforce in most of the organizations. I'll repeat. The kids who are in the colleges and the schools now will account for something like 68% of the total workforce in most of the organizations in next 8 years. All of us know that these kids think differently, act differently, they behave differently, their styles are different, they are much more tech savvy, they are much more into gadgets, and they are much more change oriented. Their motivations are very different. The value systems which they believe are very different. Question is, do you think these kind of competencies will be able to measure the leadership traits of your managers to be able to manage that workforce? So one takeaway which I can share with all of my senior colleagues, with all my dear HR colleagues and L&D colleagues present here, if there is one thing all of us must think about as HR and L&D professionals, is think of those young kids who are in the colleges and who are going to join your workforce very shortly, and therefore let us start grooming and preparing our leaders and our managers now. Is it easy? Answer is no. Is it doable? Answer is yes. It starts with sensitization of the business managers, the people who matter, you know. And we need to start doing that coaching, we need to start doing that education. Otherwise, we are really running short of time.